This episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast is driven by Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy. CGA is the most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 instructional videos that includes everything you need to take a 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com, sign up for their free preview module, and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 144. This week on the show, we're talking comfort in the field. The longer you can hunt, the more likely you are to kill more birds. So this week, we're sharing tips to keep you in the field longer. All right, welcome to episode 144 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, where your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. Driven this week by Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy and Dunn Sporting Goods. Dunn's is a family-owned operation. It's got 2 locations in Peevely, Missouri and Marion, Illinois, and they've got over 60 years dedicated to providing the outdoorsmen with the best deals on hunting and fishing gear. Check out their selection at shopduns.com, as well as over on Facebook and Instagram at @shopduns for weekly specials and giveaways. If you're new to the show, head over to hpoutdoors.com. You can check out all the past episodes over there. You can check out our discount code tab on the page, figure out how to save some cash with a couple of our supporters of the program. You can also find us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on all the quality podcast catchers out there, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all the good ones. You can find our show. Across the social media platforms, you can find my co-host, Dan Harushka. Dan, what's up?
Not too much, my man. You know, it's getting closer to season, and it's kind of telling every year. We can tell in our download numbers because they keep, they're kind of cyclical, and about this time of year they start pumping up majorly. So it's kind of neat to see. But other than that, man, just watching deer out my front yard and cutting wood, getting ready for wintertime.
Yeah,
a little prep,
little prepper life. Heard that.
Prepper.
Well, you mentioned our download numbers being neat, and I would agree. What's also neat is Gunner Kennels, engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind. Their G1 kennel has set a new industry standard and put them in a category all their own. Gunner was started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything they do, and they're dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market because man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at gunnerkennels.com. Also, thank you to Eukanuba for supporting this week's episode. We're out in the field. How you've prepared determines how you'll perform. With balanced fat and protein to support peak condition, Eukanuba premium dog food enhances strength, energy, and endurance. So when the pavement ends and the truck doors swing open, you and your dogs are ready for anything. Strong, focused, and ready for anything. That's a Eukanuba dog. Also, thank you to new to the program this week, Old Town. Since 1898, Old Town has been building the most advanced, quality watercraft products to give you the very best experience on the water. Whether you're hunting, fishing, or enjoying a relaxing paddle on a lake, there's a boat for every type of adventurer. If you haven't seen it yet, check out their new grab-and-go watercraft designed to function as your boat, blind, and retriever. It's easy to conceal. It's 11 feet, 9 inches, and 56 pounds. The Solo Sportsman's the ideal craft for those that are searching for a stable, lightweight craft. It's easy to paddle and even easier to transport or stash. Designed with the hunter and the angler in mind, the Solo Sportsman is equipped with a thoughtful shell, tackle, and tool storage, comfortable and adjustable seat, foot braces, accessory tracks, rod holders, all kinds of stuff. Check it out at oldtowncanoe.com/Solo Sportsman to see what they got going on. All right, Dan, this week what we got going on is we're talking comfort in the field because we've preached a lot about, the more time you can spend in the field, the more birds you'll kill. And, we've talked about on the show the whole advice of when you think you've hunted for as long as you can, wait 30 more minutes and your luck will change. And sometimes that's really hard to do. And I think one of the things that I've fallen into this time of year particularly is, kind of like you were talking with our download numbers, I get really excited for hunting season to get here. But it's funny because I know I'm in the dog days of summer right now because I'm going through my annual I like big game hunting again phase where I think like one day I'd like to go on an elk hunt and thinking about, shooting my bow more and got early season archery coming up here in Virginia and things like that. But quickly I get out, and when I get out back out in the field, I'm all excited. One of the things that can bring it back into a reality check super quick is if I'm uncomfortable. So like for deer hunting, for example, if I get in a tree stand and it's not comfortable, I want to stop like immediately. I'm like, I lose interest so quick. And while it's not quite that bad when I'm duck and goose hunting, it's still pretty bad. If I get out there and I'm uncomfortable and for a variety of reasons, I mean, it makes it not a great experience. So we thought kind of this week, we talk a little bit about some of the techniques we use to stay comfortable, help us get through some of that and help us stay in the field and have more success. So I was kind of thinking about this, Dan, what in your experience has been the most uncomfortable you've been hunting in the field?
Being cold and wet.
Okay. You got like a specific example?
One, well, it's funny because this lines up perfectly with the new Face Age app that everyone was on fire about today.
The entire world is on that thing.
So maybe it's just us getting older and valuing comfort in the field more, and that's another reason we pushed onto the subject. But the time with you with the being wet in the waders, that was one. I mean, it got to the point where almost couldn't move. I almost wanted to leave decoys there and just cuddle up against a tree is how I was feeling before we took off out of there. But cold and wet. But like you said, the longer you can stay out, the longer that you're comfortable. And it's just better for the experience. You don't want to end up coming back to the house that day and being like, man, that was not fun, especially for guys that don't get out that much. So, some of the worst times, I guess, what I wanted to cover were things that almost made me leave the field that I was so uncomfortable and how I've prepared to prevent those in the future. So I think it's a good topic.
Well, and I mean, the thing is too, comfort is not just about you, right? It's about everybody in the blind. It's about your dog, because one person being uncomfortable can make everybody uncomfortable, right? Like that is being uncomfortable in and of itself. Like this reminds me of the trip we went down to Maryland, and our buddy Travis had bought he was early, and this is Travis who we had on the show, right? Making of a waterfowl hunter several episodes back. And he bought these cheaper neoprene waders. And I mean,
we told him not to.
Yeah. And I mean, again, he was sort of new into the game. And I think this is a trap a lot of guys fall into. You feel like you need to buy all this gear, and you do. But when you're buying it all, it's expensive. Even if you buy cost-effective stuff, it's still expensive based on volume. And he bought some cheaper waders, to get him out in the field, whatever. And his feet were cold. And he battles this, as he mentioned on the episode. He battles cold feet all the time. His feet were cold immediately. And he had his waders off, like with his rubbing his feet, trying to get some sensation back into them.
It wasn't even, the sun wasn't even up.
No, I mean, it was, and then it was just continuous throughout the morning. So
you know how many jogs he went on that morning?
Right. Yeah.
He ran. He ran so much.
So it's it's one of those things where it's like, man, this sucks for you. Like, I know you're struggling. So I'm distracted from the hunt, and cause I don't want you to be freezing your butt off. But at the same time, it's come on, man, lock it up. We want to hunt, right? Or whatever. So it's being, it's being aware of everybody else in the field and doing what you can to be in a position to help them, be comfortable as well. So,
yeah. And even, if you're on solo hunts, then if you're hunting with a bunch of people, they might have something that could remedy that, right? They might have the extra hot hands or whatever.
Yep.
If you're going out by yourself, these are things that you might want to pack along.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, we'll go through, I think they probably fall into a couple buckets of things. And some of these we've probably touched on to some extent in past episodes, kind of approaching it from other angles. But I think probably the first one and the obvious one that we've been kind of talking about here is cold and how you deal with cold. I mean, obviously we could talk about camo and layering and all that stuff, but I'm kind of thinking more than that. And one One of the biggest things that I like to do, and this is particularly important for me now that my son is hunting with me more, is bring in like a little buddy heater or something like that. And the thing about those heaters are, for whatever reason, it's just a pain in the neck for me to bring it, because it's like just an extra thing I got to load, carry, make sure I got fuel for, all that kind of stuff. But it's super important especially with kids, to be able to knock the chill off in the blind or let them get their hands in front of it, directly to really help kind of stay in the field. Or you, for example, I mean, a lot of times I'll get like, I'll get like the sleeves of my shirt or my jacket or something wet if I don't have like a Gore-Tex member on or something like that. Or one of my go-to moves back in the day when I would always wear like Harbor Freight rubber gloves for picking up decoys. And I would just like reach over and try to get that decoy, and I would sink my arm too far and I'd put ice cold water into the glove, right?
Yep.
It's so nice to be able to get back to that blind and just throw your hands down in front of a little buddy heater to take the edge off, real quick before it gets too bad. So for me, it's a pain in the neck to bring, but I think it is one of the most important things on those bitter cold days to really help you stay comfortable.
Side note on a conversation, you left those gloves up here and you left them in my garage. For some reason, I only have the right hand one, but every time my dog rolls in something dead, I thank you because I put that on when I soap her up and wash.
Is it the orange ones?
No, the black ones.
Oh, the black ones. Gotcha. Yeah, I think those were my second iteration. I think I had some orange ones that disappeared too.
Yep. Yeah, he left those up, and I'm like, every time my dog rolls in something dead and stinks to high heaven, I'm like, thanks, Josh. I appreciate that.
I got you, boo.
Slip it on. It's right inside the door. But anyway. So anyway, I want to talk about, well, I guess two things that are not big that have saved me multiple times. One would be obviously a thermos and coffee or something hot to drink. And that right there, like sometimes I'll end up getting a chill on me that I just can't shake. And a little bit of coffee just warms the soul. And I cannot recommend that high enough. And also, there are so many light, puffy jackets that you can crinkle up into the size of your cell phone, essentially, and jam into your bag somewhere, that I will not go hunting without one in my bag.
Yeah.
Those two little things take up not a lot of room, and those can keep you out. I mean, those are make or break deals for me sometimes.
Well, the good thing the thing about those puffy jackets that you're referring to is I feel like it almost took a page out of like the backpack hunter or backpack hiker book, because most of those are synthetic,
right?
Fluffy
insulation. Yeah.
So those are going to keep you warm even if you get wet. So if you didn't bring an outer shell and it started to rain unexplicably, or wet snow or whatever, it's going to still keep you warm even if it gets wet, which is so important. Particularly, I mean, there's no worse cold than like a wet cold, right? So,
right.
That's a really good point. I think that we've both kind of adapted that into our hunt routine, and it's something that we wouldn't hunt without now.
See, and this goes back when I was talking to Christian and saying how moisture, like it might not be that cold, but when you have moisture in the air, how much colder it actually is. Mm-hmm. And when you mix in wind with that, it's crazy cold, and it might only be 35 degrees, right? So usually 35 degrees here, which usually it's very moist up in this area, but I want to go back.
Not say moist anymore.
I'll say moit. Very close. Very moit. And I want to go back to when I was out in Oklahoma, and I was debating between my outers and if I should wear the duck oven. I was like, I would be way too hot in a duck oven. I don't want to do that. And it ended up, I threw my lowland jacket in, which is very thin. You have one, and just shoved it in the pocket. And by the end of the hunt, I had that thing on because I was pretty chilly, and that right there made it a very comfortable hunt. So
Yeah, I mean, I wear that style jacket all year long as my daily wear, right? You know, that lightweight, puffy. It just, yeah, it just works. I think that's a really good quality piece of kit.
Yeah, and then you don't get to wash it, and you come back to the airport with blood on your sleeves. That's always fun. I did that, but it is what it is.
No biggie. Yeah, yeah.
How are you with hot hands? Are you a big hot hand guy?
I am not a hot hands guy.
I'm not a hot hands guy either. I usually have a couple in my pack, but they rarely come out. Yeah. I've used it one time, and I'm not sure why, but I actually I think I had a really bad headache, and I went out. I was actually with Trav, and in my neck gaiter, I put it down on the back of my neck, and it saved that hunt as well.
Yeah, I'm not big on them. I've definitely used them sparingly in the past, and I've always been happy when I used them. Like, they work well. I just don't do it on a regular basis. I'm more of like a muff guy, as we talked about, and that usually creates enough heat. But they are kind of nice to have a hot hands to put in there at times. Shoot, there was something I was going to say, and I'm drawing a blank now. You got me thrown off when I was going to talk about. But
I have a muff, and I don't think I've used it yet.
So I really like that because it does help me keep my hands comfortable because I don't like to wear heavy gloves, you know?
Right.
So, in fact, I don't like to wear gloves, period, if I can avoid it. And that's what I will do until I'm unbearably cold in my hands and I have to put gloves on. So I will be barehanded. So I'll use the muff for that. The big drawback to that is if I pick up a duck or something like that barehanded, I really have to try to be mindful of not putting my hands into the muff when when they're wet, because that really makes me uncomfortable when I'm putting my hands into like that wet thing there. So that's a little bit of a challenge, but in general, that's typically how I go because I like to keep my hands, ungloved if I possibly can. Do
you find that eating something warms you up or
definitely
takes a chill off you?
Definitely.
Does it matter what it is?
I don't think it typically matters. I mean, I think science tells you that higher calories creates more energy and your body burns more like whatever and helps raise your body temperature by feeding it with calories. So, snacks come in all shapes and sizes and varieties. I mean, I like the comfort food and I don't know if that's comfort. I like pastries and stuff a lot lately. That's been kind of my jam. Honey buns, glazed.
Let me ask you this. Have you seen, it was last year, Sam Soholt had those little Tostino's pizza rolls, and he put it in Yeti stuff and kept them warm. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think it's cool. I don't know how I would ever make that work to actually execute that. Like where he's got the biscuits and gravy in there and stuff too. Like, I mean, that's awesome. I don't get up early. I can't get up early enough to prepare.
It's only 5 minutes, like 3 minutes in a microwave, and then throw them in there.
Okay, I get that, but I mean, you have the luxury of hunting like 10 minutes from your front door. I don't go anywhere that's under an hour, right? So that's our drive time. So then my truck's got to get loaded. So I got like a lot going on in the morning. Like breakfast is a quick deal for me. It's got to be consumed. It's got to be something in the truck. I would be more likely to prepare it in the blind. I think that would be a fun thing. More fun than having it with me. Just if I had the blind situation where I could cook up a little breakfast, I think that'd be preferred for me. Because I usually don't like to eat a ton right away. Because if I'm eating a bunch of food out the door, I'm going to have to sit down when I'm out in the field somewhere, and I try to avoid that. So like I stay low sugar. So like if I'm going to eat pastries or like something that's got a lot donuts, things like that, I never eat that first thing in the morning because that sugar just destroys my stomach. Like, yeah. So I always wait till later in the morning to eat that stuff. I usually keep it pretty bland and just go with coffee first thing till I get squared away.
What else do you take for battling the cold?
So I think that the other thing, and you touched on it, that a lot of guys don't really appreciate enough is a neck gaiter. I think the neck gaiter is such a critical piece.
It's a game changer.
No doubt. I mean, keeping the wind off your neck, keeping the wind off your face, it's so helpful. So, most companies make some sort of variety of like a fleeced line, fleeced back to neck gaiter. They're pretty inexpensive. I would totally encourage people to use those if they haven't. It's just one of those things on those bitter cold days. Even if I never pull it up over my face, just having it around my neck makes such a big difference.
I was going to say, I rarely pull it up over my face.
Yeah.
I don't like the condensation, the moistness coming up into my face, especially if it's that cold, then that bothers me to have moisture on my face.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't breathe into it either much, but I mean, I will, if it's that cold, like I'll pull the thing up, but it's not my ideal scenario, but I do love it. I think it's a really, really important piece of mind thing for like the bitter cold kind of
I didn't even write that down, but that is one thing that has saved a lot of hunts for me too, as far as comfort wise.
Mm-hmm.
Just to throw that on. I'm a big ball cap guy. So, the neck, lower head, everything. And the last piece that I would take for cold is just a warmer hat, a tassel cap or something. But, definitely the neck gaiter is huge. I have a few of them just in case my kids steal some and I don't get them back.
Yeah.
They've been taking them to school.
I'm not a big stocking cap, tassel cap guy. I'm more baseball cap. And so like I just, the neck gaiter is kind of a saving grace for me because the top of my head's usually just letting heat out like crazy. So, I think another thing that really, really impacts my comfort in the field is a quality seat. And I wrote down on my notes, I wrote 3 things on my notes. I wrote cold, hunger, and sore butt. Because if I'm sitting on something where my butt hurts, my back hurts, like my knees hurt, because I'm 6'4", right? So if I'm sitting like real far close to the ground and my knees are bent real at a tough angle, like that's just so uncomfortable for me after a while. And like, there's nothing more that I want to do than go do something else when I'm uncomfortable in the field. Like deer hunting, this is my number one thing. It's like when I get uncomfortable in a tree stand, I'm like, all right, this sucks. I'm not seeing deer and I'm uncomfortable. Like I'm out, right? I can't, I'm over this. In the field, you can stand up, you can move around, you can do some stuff, but like, you want to be able to sit and relax when you're out there, and it's tough to do if you don't have a great seat. So oftentimes we find ourselves hunting, especially if you're doing like the run and gun style where you're not hunting from stationary blinds or things like that, you're in tough spots where you're sitting on a bucket that's kind of awkward, or you're sitting on some sort of stool, or you're in a layout blind that's not quite ideal. I mean, I think this is a big one, the comfort piece of the concealment and the blind. I mean, I think that's one major reason why you're seeing such an explosion in popularity in the A-frame style blinds.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm not a big butt hurt guy. I think mostly because I guess I coined myself as like the lookout guy. So I'm always kind of moving around, looking at every angle and trying to watch birds or find them before they get, I'm not pie facing. Get out of here. But the,
call it as I see it.
The one comfort seat would be a swamp seat. And that's huge. Cause when you stand and I'm talking like, edge of the lake, you're in reeds, whatever it may be, a swamp seat, just to sit back and relax for a minute and still be able to see wherever you want to see. I think that's a huge advantage. Not a lot of weight, kind of awkward sometimes if you have a long walk and are carrying a ton of other things, but definitely worth it in a comfort area.
Well, a lot of the swamp seats too have like the shoulder sling, which is kind of nice.
Right.
And what I've done is just, if I'm taking the canoe out, I throw it in there. And, and that's another thing I've used. I've used my canoe as a seat. It's like I'll drive a post into the muck, and I'll just, anchor it via the C-clamp method like we've talked about in the show in the past. Mm-hmm. And you got a nice little stable platform there. You can sit on the side of the canoe. You can sit in it if you need to. You can sit across one of the, I'm drawing a blank on what the names are, but the bars that go across that, you can kind of like get you elevated a little bit more. There's a lot of different things you can do with that, but whatever you got to do to be comfortable in the field is
even
important.
leaning against it.
Yeah, because I mean, I've got terrible feet, so like my back starts hurting like really quickly if I don't have, either a good seat or something I can lean against, or whatever. So for me, like that, I can deal with some cold, like the physical pain piece of just being uncomfortable for me kind of gets me a little bit irritated pretty quick. So that for me is something that I really focus on. So I'm always making sure that I got a good quality seat with me anywhere I'm hunting.
I feel like this conversation is making us out to be old.
I don't care. I am. I mean, it is what it is. And I guarantee everybody listening to this has been in situations where a hunt has been miserable because you're just not comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, like think about that. Like, you're in a position where you got to hold still because ducks are circling or whatever. But if your back's screaming at you or your legs won't stop shaking because they're freezing, that's not fun. It's hard to enjoy it when you're being distracted by these other things.
So my notes, I broke down into 3 buckets as well. 1 cold, 1 wet, and 1 just life. And I put your I put your butt hurt in my life bucket, and also in there I have Chapstick. And I know that you're a big Chapstick guy.
Yep.
Do you want to hit on reasons why Chapstick?
Well, I mean, Chapstick is kind of one of those things like chapped lips for me is one of those things where I'm trying to draw a good comparison to what it is. Okay, so like, I don't know if you ever had this, but this is a terrible example. It's going to make me sound like I've got OCD, which is not completely inaccurate. So I guess it's fair. But like if I'm trying to sleep, right, and I hear a noise in the room, maybe like my ceiling fan's like clicking weird, something like that that's just distracting. Mm-hmm. I may go a long time and never notice it. But the second I hear it and I notice it, I can't unhear it and I can't fall asleep, right? Same thing with Chapstick. I'll be fine in the field and maybe my lips are a little bit chapped or whatever. But it's like the first time that I feel it where I'm like, oh, they're kind of chapped. Like all I'm thinking about is like, oh my God, I got to get some Chapstick, right? Like, it will drive me nuts if I don't get it. So I keep it on the lanyard, especially days where I'm calling a lot, hunting traffic, something like that. You got saliva and spit and stuff going everywhere. Like your lips, wind, your lips are gonna get chapped. So being able to address that is nice. And not for nothing, but like if it gets bad enough and you like split your lip open or something because they're so chapped and dry, like that's painful. It's not an enjoyable thing either.
Right. I agree with that. My next one that I have written down is Advil, and this is I always have some Advil in my bag, and I don't want to say never, but I usually do not acquire a headache when I'm in the field, but sometimes when I wake up, if I have a headache, then I'll take some before I leave. But I always have some because there's nothing worse than sitting next to your buddy who has his head in his hands because he had a late night out, right? Mm-hmm. So to be able to, pass that forward is something nice. Yeah. At least they can enjoy it a little more in the field.
I'm the same way. I always try to bring some Advil with me because I will get headaches on those real crisp, clear, cold mornings from just breathing in all that like cold air and stuff. Sometimes that'll give me a headache. And, again, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to just be thinking about my head thumping the whole time. Right. So Advil's a must for sure. And, you share it with your buddy if he's been out or if he's just not feeling well or whatever. Definitely makes
See, most of my headaches are like I always have sunglasses, right? My eyes are super sensitive for whatever reason, astigmatism probably, but I've always worn glasses since forever. So if I have a headache and can't open my eyes and see birds coming and actually partake in the hunt, like that is number 1 annoying on my list. So I always have that.
Yep.
All right, here's one. Toilet paper or baby wipes? Speaking of comfort.
Are you like asking me like what side of the coin I fall in on that?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
a TP guy in the field for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just easier concealable in a little small Ziploc baggie kind of thing. I'm usually pretty disciplined on like preparing myself properly to be in the field for periods of time. So this doesn't hit me all that often. Once I figured out that sugar just wrecks my world early in the morning, I've been much better. So I'll go several months, even seasons, with like the same baggie of TP in my blind bag. So I would assume like the baby wipes would dry out to some extent, maybe. Like, I'm not really sure the logistics of all that, but
Yeah, no, not in a. See, I usually have baby wipes in a plastic bag, Ziploc bag. They stay moist and comfort. Sometimes they're a little chilly depending how cold it is.
yeah, I mean,
There for the longest time,
either one is better than the option of like ripping the sleeve off your shirt and having to use that. So
yeah.
I mean, you know, either way you fall on that is not bad.
I had the eco-friendly disintegrating TP from backcountry hunts that I had in my bag for a long time.
The old biodegradable, like
yeah. That's always, how quick do they biodegrade, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. I was always worried about that.
When you're bent over a log, I'm sure you're not worried about it.
No, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, like you said, discipline equals freedom for yourself.
I said that?
Well, you said you're disciplined, but
oh yeah,
it proves it equals freedom in the field.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It does for sure.
Thanks, Jocko.
Yeah, I don't. It's so funny. Like I hear all these people reference like people like Jocko and Rogan and stuff like that, and I'm just like, it goes way right over my head because I don't listen to any of it. So it's just like,
that's just his big saying: discipline equals freedom.
Oh, okay. Never heard that before. Right on. So what else? What else keeps you comfortable in the field?
Wet, being wet, and how to
that keeps you comfortable.
Combat that.
Okay.
What do you do for getting wet?
Typically just wear it. Just be wet. I mean, depending on the situation, if it's going to be poor weather, I try to get in a situation where the blind's covered to some extent, actually keep the water off me. But I mean, I wear, proper rain gear, get a waterproof outer layer if I can. But I hate hunting in the rain. Like, give me snow, but rain hunting sucks, I think. So yeah, I mean. So
I think some preventative maintenance that I do as far as duck hunting and setting decoys. If I'm not launching them, if I'm actually out in the water and pulling a bag behind me or whatever I'm doing, wearing gloves in that situation to prevent my hands from getting cold is a good start to the day for me. Because like you, I don't like to wear gloves while I'm hunting. So having those, the decoy gloves or whatever your flavor of the month is, I think that's a big one to start. So not getting wet is a good one for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little off the vein of what we've been doing here, and I'll tell you right now, one of the things that keeps me most comfortable in the field is being on a good scout. So if I'm hunting a spot where I'm really confident that birds are going to come and I'm excited about that, it makes a lot of things way more bearable. Like if I know we're on a big feed or something like that, I can deal with a little more adversity than if I'm hunting like a traffic spot where we know we're just going to be working our tails off to pull birds off the, off the path and try to get them. Things like that make it very important. So that's why I keep paralleling deer hunting because it's such a struggle for me to stay comfortable and engage in a deer hunt. But like trail cam photos are a huge thing for me on deer hunting. Like if I know with reasonable consistency that deer have been hitting this spot at this time and this frequency, like it keeps me more motivated to stay there and like be engaged. If I go out and I check the camera before I get in the stand and there's nothing on the camera, it's usually not a real comfortable hunt for me, kind of thing. So being on
just the anticipation keeps you warm.
Yeah, I think it's just the mental game, right? Like knowing that you're in the hunt, knowing that you're in the fight potentially keeps me more motivated than if it's just like, okay, this is going to be a sunrise photo morning and, that kind of thing. So putting the work in to have a good scout and being on birds makes it that much more bearable.
So here's another one that I just started doing this last year, and that is bringing extra socks. And this is regarding dry field hunting. It's funny that this happened not too long ago, but when you're, I dress down when I'm setting up, right? So my jacket and everything is still in my blind or wherever we're going to sit. But whenever you go and like my feet sweat like mad and having cold
Gross.
feet, which I don't, sweaty bandages.
Gross.
When my feet get cold, which even when they sweat a little bit, like I can bear it. Like it doesn't usually get me out of the field. But something I noticed not too long ago, I went camping and we were sitting around the fire at night, and I had it rained before we got up there, so we were setting up and everything, and my shoes, boat shoes, got a little wet.
Perfect camping attire.
Yeah, so we're sitting around and I'm like shivering by the fire, and I'm like, why am I so cold? And I actually took my wet shoes off and was fine. So just that little bit of extra chill that's on your feet might be what's making you so cold that you want to pack it in for the day. So a pair of extra socks is now in my bag just in case.
Do you wear socks with your boat shoes? Is that where you're going with this?
No, I don't.
So did you just walk around in your stocking feet after that, or did you?
When I was sitting in my chair next to the fire, so I put them like up by the rocks, right?
All right.
By the fire.
Okay. Were they merino wool socks?
What socks?
Didn't you say your whole point was you bringing extra socks?
Yeah, in the field. Yeah, even if they're marine. Well,
so
inside,
the boat shoe story had nothing to do with socks at all.
No, just that little bit of moisture in those shoes.
Oh, for crying out loud!
Was making my feet so cold that I was literally shivering, and it was 70 degrees out.
Okay,
and I'm like, "What's going on?"
Well, that's weird because you were saying that the massively sweaty feet don't bother you typically in the field, right?
They don't.
It's weird. Something weird's going on. You sure you don't? You sure you didn't have like I don't know. I've been watching Stranger Things a lot lately, so it's got me kind of.
You think I have like a weird snake bug in me or something?
I don't know, man. I'm just they like it cold, and you throw your feet up by the fire, you start getting weird. I don't know. Just saying.
Like coming out of me. That's weird.
Dude, that show is quality. Like it's been a while since
I haven't started the next season.
It's really good. Like yeah. I'm like 6 episodes in on the 3rd season or whatever season it is. The most recent one. It's really good. It's it's good. I like it. So check it out. What? You okay?
A weird rabbit hole, but yeah.
It's kind of our thing, sort of.
It's all right. It works.
Yeah. All right. What else? What else you got here on your comfort?
The one last thing that I have is a change of clothes, and that's if you do have a hole in your waders and have to go back to the truck and change them out, and definitely putting a heater on, changing out of the wet clothes, or if you take a dunk or swim, whatever it may be, having a change of clothes in a dry bag in your vehicle can't be overstated, because that could save a life if needed.
Yeah, that's a good safety thing. Yeah, I'm trying to think about like what else keeps me like super comfortable in the field.
But those are some of the things, like when I was with you and actually had teeth chattering, like that was the most I shivered in a long, long time that I can remember. It's all because of the hole in the waders. But
yeah,
we ended up calling that, and that was a pretty nasty day overall.
Yeah, we could have killed ducks that day, though. We should have.
Yeah, we could have
killed more than we did. We? I don't think we killed any.
We didn't kill any. My gun was actually, the action was frozen open on it. I got water from it splashed up on my gun and froze my entire gun wide open.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was fun because I drove like all that way up there, and it was like an hour into the hunt. You're like, dude, I really hate to do this, but I'm dying over here.
Well, I think I was literally about to die.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you felt you were not neat right there. All right, man. Well, I think that kind of covers everything for me as far as the comfort piece goes. I mean, I don't think we're necessarily breaking news or new ground on any of this stuff. I think it's
Right.
just, I think it's more of an idea of just, you know, your hunt is infinitely more enjoyable if you're comfortable, and thinking about where you're going to be hunting and what the situations are going to be thrown at you and what you have to do to ensure that your comfort will be there. One of the big things we've talked about in the past is like, if you're going to hunt with the dog, make sure that if you're hunting in water, that there's a place for the dog to get up out of the water, things like that. Most people think that, and you kind of take that for granted, but it's a worthwhile thing to go through, because if you think about some of these things and the first time it's because you're in the field and you're being uncomfortable and suffering from these conditions, it's obviously too late. So if this is, and we spent a lot of time on cold early season hunts in September for geese and stuff like that can be equally as uncomfortable. So to hit on that really quickly, obviously water hydration is important, but like thermocells, bug sprays, things like that are so important. Like, I don't know anybody that likes swatting mosquitoes, but you talk about wanting to wrap a hunt up quicker than anything. If I'm getting just drilled by mosquitoes,
Yep.
I'm out.
What about spiders in your blind?
I mean, we've been over this I don't know how many times. Like, don't at me on Facebook. Like, keep tagging me in spider pics. Doesn't faze me. It's all good. Told you, when I'm outside in the element, they don't bother me. It's all good. I just flick them away. Just deal with it.
Dang spider. You want to know something? Just thinking like the overall talk of the show, and it's not groundbreaking, like you said. And some people might ask, we're on episode 144, is it? Like, why are you covering stuff like this? And I just put up a post in our Facebook group and said, what are some people's personal goals? You'd be amazed how many people are going hunting for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And trying to shoot their first duck or first goose or taking out new hunters. Like, that's the reason we do shows like this, because people are listening that need the information of starting out. And the whole reason that we started this show was to bridge that gap between new and veteran hunters. So that's kind of, not that we need to justify why we're covering this, but it's a good reminder that there's a lot of people out there that are just getting into this and that we can help them out.
Well, and not for nothing, but some of these topics that we cover, we may have covered almost 5 years ago now when we first started.
August 12th, man.
Right.
We're less than a month away from 5 years.
And I can tell you with 100% certainty that you and I are different hunters today than we were at that time. And we'll be different hunters, next year than we were today. So like, we continue to evolve. We continue to learn, improve techniques, learn things that don't work, learn things that do work, all of that kind of stuff. So, trying to, one of the things that we've done as a show is we've tried to take topics and look at them differently and approach them in different ways that, others don't. And this is one of those things that is so easily taken for granted. But as a new hunter, I guarantee, even everything that we've talked about today in this show that's been, the veteran hunter probably thinks is just basic stuff and whatever. I guarantee there's someone who's getting ready for their first hunting season that hadn't thought about everything that we talked about today. There's something that they picked up out of there that they were like, no, that's a good point. I'm going to consider that when it comes time. And that's what it's all about, because we're at the point now with 144 episodes, not everybody's going to go back and start with episode 1 and peel through.
I was going to say that too. A lot of people just started and they'll ask us to cover something. We're like, well, we did a whole episode on that.
We get emails constantly with, hey, I'd love to see an episode like this. And I'm like, yeah, it's episode like 60.
Yep.
Kind of thing. But it's all good. I mean, we get that too. So it's, it's a balance of all of those things. And frankly, one of the things that I know is very important that a lot of people like is a lot of people probably enjoy the Facebook group that we have as much, if not more, than the actual show. And I've noticed that a lot of the conversations and topics that we talk about on the show spur conversation and further exploration in the group amongst those guys. So, if you're not in the group now, you can head over there and get in, and all of this stuff kind of just goes off, and it gives opportunities for people to say like, hey, listen to the guys this week, this is one situation that I had, or one, and it's just a great opportunity for everyone to kind of learn from everybody else. So really, really good options for that if that's something that you want to explore further.
That being said, too, we did get a message from a federal game warden regarding our last episode, and I think we're going to deep dive into some of the gray areas. So if you have gray areas from our last episode, email us. I'll probably put a post up in the Facebook group asking for, really, really crazy situations that you might have came across or heard about, and we'll get them answered. So we'll get them over to him. I think, what do you say? There's only 200 and some federal game wardens in the United States. So, they're not super easy to get a hold of, but he reached out and is willing to help in that area. So we're going to take advantage of that in the coming weeks. So like I said, shoot us a message, and I think that'll be very interesting to get his look on things.
Yeah, totally agree. And excited to have that. And I think it's one of those ones where, we could have talked a really long time about that topic. And we could talk really long, especially with a game warden, because there is so many different nuances and things that are just for different across the country. So definitely interested to hear in people's questions that they might have for that, and get some of those out to the people.
Get them out.
Get them out.
I like it.
All right, what else you got? You got one last thing? Anything else going on in your world that we need to know about?
Well, yeah. And I just sent you a snap of this, but Amazon, for these super hot days, if you don't want to buy a pool and don't want to go drive 45 minutes to a lake or somewhere for your kids to go swimming, there are pools that are very sturdy on Amazon for like $112, and they're 30 inches high. So your kids can learn to swim in them. And if they have trouble, then they can just stand up and be above the water. We started that last year. All my kids are jumping off high dives into deep end without floaties. Dawson just turned 4, so that's a good experience in the summer, and it's right in the backyard now. It's very cheap. It's like very cheap option.
It's like an above ground pool situation.
Yeah, and it has actual like
a filter and everything.
Yeah, filter and everything, but it's not just like the blow up ring at the top that you find for $50 at Walmart. It actually has like metal pulls that goes around it, and it's very sturdy. So actually we're just filling it up, and when I get off this, I need to turn the water off because it's probably overflowing.
Yeah, there's zero chance my HOA would let that fly, but I wish I would, because that would be a nice little option to have in the backyard.
Just put it on your deck. Put it on a deck you built.
No, my neighbors would complain. Maybe not my neighbors, but somebody in my neighborhood would complain.
I haven't got any complaints yet.
Yeah, the neighbors probably don't care too much. All right, man. Anything else you got before we wrap up this week?
I don't think so.
I mean, what's your weather been like? We have not heard a single weather.
Dude, well, it's been a very nice summer. It's been hot in the 80s, which isn't hot to a lot of people. I know it's over 100 in Kansas today. It's going to be in...
we were pushing like upper 90s in Virginia today.
Yeah, it's going to be in the mid 90s this weekend. So I'm glad that I got that pool set up, ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, so how's it work? Do you complain about heat in the summertime?
Do I?
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable in like the 70 degree range. But the thing is, like, I don't know. That's one thing I hate about. That's one thing I hate about Facebook, is that in the wintertime, people.
They're just one.
The one main thing about weather, because I'm the weatherman, but just how much they complain about how cold it is, and then summertime they complain about how hot it is, and then it's like just live in a bubble.
Do that on social media too? Or
no,
I say just your snaps to me.
What did it say?
I get
because I'm
random weather snaps from you, and in complete fairness, I don't understand Snapchat. So like, if you send it to me, I have no idea if that's just to me or if that's just like something you're posting to everybody. Therefore,
you'll never know.
Therefore, I never respond to any of them.
So there's Josh has Snapchat, so add him and send him snaps, and he won't snap you back.
Yeah, I'll ignore it because I don't know if it's to me or if it's to like everybody, and I don't want to be like the weirdo that responds to every.
You can't reply all on Snapchat. Do you know what I mean? If you reply to something I send you, it just comes to me.
Well, I swear I've gotten snaps sent to me by people that are not sending them directly to me. Like there's like just people that I don't talk to that much, or like
they have to click your name to send it to you.
Okay, but they might be sending it to multiple people, correct?
Correct, but if you reply to that, then it's just to them.
No, I get that. But if it's more of like a, like a carpet bombing of your snap, I don't really feel compelled to respond to that.
Well, I'm gonna start like putting text in it. I say, "Hey, Josh, this is only to you."
I mean, if you want a response from me, like you need to let me know.
I need to specify.
This is action required, bro. Like, because if not, I don't action any social media things. Like, I mean, I'll go into my messenger inbox and I'll have like 50 messages, and I'm like, oh, my bad.
But yeah, the thing I complain about is rain in the summertime, which up here we get a ton of rain, but it's been a really nice summer, I feel like, and it's going to continue. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Okay. I mean, you kind of blew my mind the other night when you were talking about how it was like 85 degrees in your house because you don't have AC. You're just like living it up.
Yeah, I was all right with that.
Life tilt. That puts me on life monkey tilt. Because my air conditioning is currently crapping out, I think, and needs a little work.
And you're at like 82 degrees and mad.
It was 80 in my house, and I wanted to throat punch every human on the earth. I was so angry trying to sleep. I was not into it. And you're like, oh yeah, currently 84 in my house. I'm like, oh my God, like I'd lose my mind. Just constant
crack the window. You're good.
Crack the window. It's 100 outside. Why on earth would you let that in?
I have air conditioners in my house, just not a whole house conditioner.
But I mean, whatever room you were in, it was 85 degrees.
No, that was the living room.
Yeah, that's just unsat.
All the bedrooms are air conditioned. That's all you need.
Sure. All right.
I'm not home all day. What's it need air conditioned for?
For when you come home. It's not 100 degrees inside.
Turn it on. It cools down quick enough.
Yeah. All right.
I care about the environment, Josh.
Running your air conditioner, it means you hate the environment?
I think
as you're just overflowing fresh water out of your little side backyard pool you were raving about? Yeah, okay.
Well, it's because you keep me on here.
Sorry, man. I want to give you opportunities for 100 last things.
Anyway.
Are we good here?
I think we're good.
Okay. Well, I'm excited because I booked my flight to Canada today.
Yes, sir.
So
I'm going to do mine tonight.
I guess that means I'm officially going to Canada to hunt. It's pretty neat. Pretty exciting.
Especially if you haven't watched the episode of The Grind called The Widgeon Hole or Mallards in the Morning Benny, whatever it is. I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. So, be my first time hunting in Canada.
There's birds there.
Yeah, probably a few. Probably scratch out a couple.
Get it.
Be semi-comfortable.
All right, get us out of here.
Don't yell at me, Dan. But I will get us out of here. But before I do, I just want to take a minute to thank Dunn Sporting Goods, Gunner Kennels, Eukanuba, and Old Town. And also thank you to Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. The over 160 instructional videos. It has everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com, sign up for the free preview module, and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. All right, that does it for episode 144. Hopefully you got a little something out of our talk on how to stay more comfortable in the field this season. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out some of the past episodes that we got over there. While you're there, you can leave us a 5-star rating and review. It'll help like-minded hunters just like you find our show. That's going to do it for this week. Dan and I'll be back with you next week with some brand new content. So until then, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.